All right, we're back. We've been etching for about an hour in vinegar. I hope you can see there's some good bubbles going on there. Ooh, can you see the bubbles? Oh, look at those bubbles. So those bubbles mean that it's etching and that a good amount of the shell is bubbled away, which means that now I can just gently scrub and rinse it off. Make sure that our water is warm but not hot. I've been running it for a few minutes, making some baking soda paste, which I probably won't need for a while. I think I made this way too heavy. Put way too many BBs in here. But hopefully you can see as I just give it a nice little scrub with a toothbrush. Now that outer layer of shell is just wiped right off. So these are going to be the cut lines in between the scales. So that was about an hour's worth of soak. And the dye is also coming off with it, because this is the portion that I dyed. The rest of it won't have the color. But I'll still be able to know when it's time to give it another brush, another scrub, just because of the bubbles. The bubbles let you know it's ready to go, and that there's some that wants to come off. And the really cool thing about working with emu eggshells is when you're etching, it really lets you know how deep you are in the shell. So now if you're working on a goose egg or a rhea egg or an ostrich egg or other eggs that are just, you know, eggshell colored, the color you expect eggshells to be. Didn't scrape that off well enough. Well, those, as you're just etching from white to white to white to white to white, you could start to worry that maybe you're going a little too deep and that maybe you're going to punch through. But the emu eggshells goes from darker blue to lighter blue. So once it starts getting real light, like white, you know you're done and you should probably stop. The only catch, of course, is that it's much darker when they're wet. So with this, with the color that it is, with this sort of almost like colonial blue that I've got going on here when it's wet, if I let it dry, instead of putting it back in the vinegar, which is what I'm going to do, but if I let it dry all the way, it would probably look really close to white. That's a trick. The true color with an emu eggshell is the color that it is when it's wet. Ooh, well that's fun. I've got some red from the dye that's kind of set in there. Oh, that's really fun. That's unusual. Oh my goodness. It seems to be etching much faster around the hole, which is weird. Slightly worrisome. I'll have to keep an eye on that. I don't want it to etch faster around the hole. I want it to etch evenly everywhere. I did some correction to the wax and I didn't scrape it off well enough. Somewhere in here. Where did that go? There it is. A knife would be better. Kitchen, so just a little scrapey, scrapey, scrapey. Try to get that wax off. I did scrape it with an X-Acto blade, but clearly texture of this emu egg. Need it really hold onto that wax. I don't want it to hold onto the wax here. I want it to let go of the wax. Give me a nice edge. Oh, the vinegar is so stinky. Vinegar is always stinky. But the vinegar stinks less than muriatic acid, so that's why I stick with it. I don't like wearing a respirator if I don't have to. I mean, I do when I have to, because safety is important. Okay. All right, I'm gonna put it back in here. I'm going to set another timer, and in about an hour, well, I'll rotate it a couple times during. It's weird that there's bubbles coming from the wax. It's already bubbling up nice. So it is important when you're etching to, at fairly regular intervals, go in there and just scrub off the outer shell so that it just keeps going and can get to what lies beneath. Let's watch it bubble. You see it bubble? Bubble, bubble,